And now over to Laurie Buchar, coming to us from the Historical Center of Bradford. The unique buildings, graveyards, and people that made that town might have fallen off our radar, but she's going to make sure we know the significance of what truly happened in Bradford.
Well, it all started here about 250 years ago. This is Bradford Center, which is the geographical heart of Bradford. And when you think of Bradford, you might think of Pizza Chef and the church and the library downtown, and that's all where we center our commerce now. But in the old days, the forefathers of each town would put the center right in the center of town, so it was equal distance for everybody who had to walk to the gathering place. There's been a lot of change over the years, but because this area got left as a backwater when the railroad came in, and this Bradford Center was a vibrant place that long ago. There was a blacksmith shop, there was the Punch Bowl Tavern, there was a tannery, there was a store where you'd pick up your mail and your millinery and your shoes and your grain, whatever. So Bradford had 12 schools. That may seem like a lot for the population of the town, but there was a rule that most towns followed, that each student had to live within a mile of the school building. This is the only one that has been kept the way it was and restored to its more school-like look. This school served students from ages 4 to age 20, and it ran the longest. It was the first school, 1793, and it went to 1937. There are still people alive who attended this school. I remember stories of students from long ago who would chuck apples up at the bell tower while the teacher's back was turned. Now let me show you where the other animals were kept. So this is the town pound. It possibly predates all the buildings in the area because every town had to have a place to put errant animals. So if your livestock wandered into someone else's cornfield, people aren't going to be happy, right? So there was a pound where the animals had to be rounded up and kept here. Job of the pound keeper was very unpopular because people had to pay him and he had to round up the animals and feed them. So anybody who was a political hopeful in town had to do the pound keeper job first. This is really the second meeting house in this location. Right over there, there was a town meeting building for gatherings of all kinds, not just religious purposes. And that building was eventually moved down to Bradford, as we know the center now, and is part of our town hall that is right there across from the library. This replaced it in 1838. Inside this building, it's quite remarkable to us because it's a beautiful historic landmark. But in its day, it was considered a fairly humble accomplishment. All towns wanted to have their meeting place for, as I said, religious as well as educational purposes. And they all shared it. There were many denominations in the center, and they would take their turns using the meeting house. It has stencils in it that you'll see that are beautiful, but were stock stencils of the time. It was a typical building for a small New Hampshire town at the time. So this is called the Center Burying Ground. They didn't use the word cemetery at that time. The graves in this area are from the 1800s, 1801 to 1881. That includes Revolutionary War veterans. So this is the only town green in Bradford, the only official town green, and it is owned by the town. But the buildings are kept up by a group called the Friends of Bradford Center. And we've had a tough year this year with COVID, last year too, of course. The kinds of events that we do have when we are open to the public are our wonderful annual Christmas pageant, many concerts during the summer, including classical music, folk music, rock and roll, and big band. We've had art shows. You can rent the space for weddings or memorials. We put on plays. We've had all kinds of fun things go on here. And we hope to continue all of that in 2022. If you want to come check us out, please come by and visit and hang out at on our picnic tables, and check us out on Facebook, Bradford Center Meeting House.